One of the quickest ways to get used in modern dating is to become the person who always understands. That sounds harsh, but listen carefully. Being understanding is beautiful when it's mutual. It becomes dangerous when it is one-sided. Because the wrong person will take your empathy, your patience, your emotional intelligence, and use all of it to avoid accountability. They will disappoint you, then lean on your ability to see the bigger picture. They will pull away, then rely on your compassion to explain it for them. They will hurt you, then trust that your heart is soft enough to give them another interpretation that feels less ugly than the truth. And that's how people end up trapped. Not because they are weak, not because they are desperate, but because they are emotionally skilled in the worst possible direction. They know how to understand others better than they know how to protect themselves. You know this dynamic. You become the person who says, maybe they're stressed. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they had a rough past. Maybe they don't know how to communicate. Maybe they do care, just in a broken way. And maybe all of that is true. But here's the part people keep skipping. Someone can be wounded and still waste your time. Someone can be hurting and still hurt you. Someone can have a painful past and still become a painful pattern in your life. Your empathy does not change their impact. That is the lesson. A lot of emotionally careless people survive off your ability to humanize their behavior faster than you judge it. That is why they are comfortable around you. You make things easier for them. You reduce consequences. You soften reality. You translate red flags into sadness, inconsistency into trauma, distance into fear, selfishness into confusion. And because you keep understanding, they keep taking. That does not always mean they are some evil mastermind. Sometimes they are just immature. Sometimes they are selfish. Sometimes they are avoidant. Sometimes they are deeply accustomed to being emotionally carried by people stronger than they are. But regardless of the reason, the result stays the same. You are the one absorbing the instability. You are the one staying calm while they stay careless. You are the one doing emotional labor while they keep benefiting from your patience. You are the one trying to save the connection with insight, while they barely save it with effort. That imbalance destroys people slowly, because it doesn't feel toxic at first. It feels noble. It feels mature. It feels like love. You tell yourself you are different because you know how to hold space. You know how to be compassionate. You know how to see beyond behavior into pain. And yes, that makes you deep. But depth without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. That is where a lot of loving people get lost. They think being kind means staying. They think being mature means tolerating. They think being emotionally evolved means endlessly regulating other people's chaos without ever asking whether that chaos should still have access to them. But the truth is much colder. Sometimes your understanding is not healing the relationship. It is protecting the dysfunction from consequences. And once you see that, a lot starts making sense. That person keeps repeating the same pattern because your softness keeps cushioning the impact. They keep coming back because you don't force them to face themselves fully. They keep giving partial effort because partial effort keeps working. Why would they rise when your standards keep kneeling for them? That is the harsh truth. People often do exactly what the relationship allows. And if the relationship keeps teaching them that apologies are enough without real change, they will keep apologizing. If it teaches them that vulnerability can replace consistency, they will keep talking instead of improving. If it teaches them that a sad story can reopen the door, they will keep returning with one. This is why understanding becomes such a dangerous identity. Because after a while, you're not just understanding them. You are abandoning yourself in the process. You stop asking what this dynamic is costing you. You stop noticing how tired you feel after every conversation. You stop questioning why you are always the one making the relationship make sense. You stop realizing that your nervous system is overworked, your peace is shrinking, and your standards are being disguised as compassion. And then something worse happens. You begin to confuse your ability to endure dysfunction with emotional strength. It is not strength to constantly survive what keeps draining you. It is not maturity to keep making room for what keeps disrespecting your peace. It is not love to keep translating someone's lack of effort into hidden potential. That is not emotional intelligence. That is emotional overextension. Now, here's the part that changes everything. You can be compassionate without becoming available. You can understand why someone behaves the way they do. and still decide that their behavior no longer gets access to you. You can acknowledge their wounds without volunteering your life as the recovery center. That is power. That is health. That is self-respect. Because real love does not ask you to overfunction while the other person underfunctions. Real love does not depend on one person carrying all the clarity, patience, and emotional discipline. Real love does not leave one person constantly explaining, soothing, forgiving, and waiting, while the other keeps testing how much can be taken without losing access. And let's be honest, a lot of people are not attracted to your empathy in a healthy way. They are attracted to how much it lets them get away with. They like being around someone who gives them the benefit of the doubt, someone who doesn't explode easily, someone who sees their pain and doesn't immediately shut the door, someone who keeps saying, "I understand." But if your understanding keeps making you easier to neglect, easier to delay, easier to revisit, easier to disappoint, it is no longer serving you. It is serving them. So the power move is not to become cold. It is to become selective. Selective with your patience. Selective with your empathy. Selective with who gets repeated chances. Selective with who gets emotional access to the softest parts of you. Not everybody deserves your understanding in the same amount. And not everybody deserves it more than you deserve your own peace. That is the line. You do not have to stop being kind. You have to stop being kind in ways that cost you your clarity. You do not have to stop seeing the good in people. You have to stop using the good you glimpse in them to ignore the pattern they keep showing you. You do not have to become heartless. You simply have to stop making your heart a place where emotionally careless people can keep resting without change. Because the truth is, the wrong person does not see your understanding as love. They see it as room. And the longer you keep giving room to people who refuse to grow, the smaller your own peace becomes. So let them call you different. Let them say you changed. Let them feel the distance that appears when understanding is no longer confused with tolerance. Because you were never put here to become endlessly understandable for people committed to staying unresolved. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is let someone be misunderstood by you for once.